Hi, boys and girls, boys and squirrels. This is Hal coming to you from Daigle Autoharps in SeaTac, Washington. And we're going to talk about pickups. We're going to start into electronic land. And we're going to talk about pickups and maybe a little bit about amps tonight and sort of lay some groundwork. Right now it is evening. The shop is quiet, except for the occasional jets rushing overhead. And I'm going to show you about some pickups and amps, because I can make some noise here. In a couple of hours, we're having a jam session here. We have a jam session every month. And so right now, the back of the shop, I'm going to take you into the back of the shop here. We set out chairs. We set out a projection machine so we can project up on the screen. We put the lyrics up there. We pop some popcorn. Take you over here to get some popcorn. But that's not what I wanted to show you. Who needs dinner? All right, so I'll take you over and show you some pickups. This is an electric bar magnet pickup. You can see the wire coming out of one end. Doing this all with one hand here. It's a magnet on top. This goes under your strings and it's held down by your cord bars. Put that one back. That's the kind that we provide on most auto harps, right there. But that's not the only kind. There's also this kind of pickup. I'll show you one of these bigger. This is a Piezo pickup, which is a little crystal on a wire. And I'm going to show you a comparative, comparing the sounds of those two pickups tonight, and what they sound like, and why they are equal, although different. And while I'm here, I'm going to show you this. This is a pickup with the top removed. And you can see this pink part that runs around and around the core. If I move it in close, you can see that it's a bunch of bundled wires. It's kind of covered up by the adhesive that's holding it. That's a bundle of wires that runs around a magnetic core. And then they run out the wire on the end. And so a magnet pickup is just that. But that's what gives you an electric sound. And it won't pick up sounds through the air. It will only pick up magnetic vibrations from the strings. Hence, an auto harp that is equipped with one of those is an electric auto harp. It's not an acoustic auto harp anymore. And its sounds are very electric. Now I'm going to dig out of my backpack here another pickup to show you. What did I do with that? Aha. We'll take this out and set it up out here. Okay, this is one of those Piezo crystal pickups. It just looks like this. It has a little thing on it that looks like a coin, and it sticks on your auto harp, or your guitar, or your violin, or what have you. And you have to use an adhesive, like a piece of tape, double stick tape, put it on the soundboard of the instrument, either on the inside or the outside. Where you place it makes a big difference in the sound. This transducer, it's called a hotspot, and it's about 1/2 inch across, and it's for instruments with thinner soundboards like guitars. I have one that's got a 3/4 inch disc on it, and that's called the Big Shot. And the Big Shot is much more suitable for the Autoharp if you use it. Anyway, I'm going to compare with you now the two sounds of the electric bar magnet pickup and the transducer mics or piezo crystals that are put internally into Daigle Autoharps. For this sound check, I'm going to be using this PV Solo portable sound system. This is a no frills electric guitar setup. And we're going to talk about amps more in a future video. But I'm explaining this to you now. An electric guitar amplifier has one speaker in it, basically, or two speakers, but they're the same size when you have two. This one has one. You can see it right in the middle there. And if it was an acoustic amp, and I've got an acoustic amp right over there, and I might hook that up, and we can compare the sounds through that as well. There is a difference in the sound that you get, and you have to think about, do I want to sound electric, or do I want to sound acoustic? Do I want to sound like an Autoharp, only louder? Or do I want to sound more electric and modern and more like an electric guitar or an organ? And that's going to be a choice that you make when you're purchasing an amp and shopping for an amp, and you may end up with both. You may end up being drawn to one kind of sound over another, one kind of pickup over another. So you be the judge. I'm going to start with this Autoharp. This Autoharp has a built-in pickup, and it's a bar magnet pickup. It's laying right along here underneath the strings, facing up. That bar that I showed you is installed under there to give us our electric Autoharp sound. It's getting its sound from magnetic vibrations off the strings. And there's no microphone involved. Now that's set very loud, but because this is always right by my ear, and because it does not have a solid body, I hear sound coming out of the Autoharp as well as coming out of the amp. But one way to deal with that is to turn the amp up. This kind of pickup allows you to do that because it's not going to feed back very easily. Feedback is something you deal with where the sound from the amp goes back in to the strings and makes them vibrate. It goes back into the pickup just like it would go back into a microphone, and then feedback itself, feedback itself, feedback itself, and it starts this loop going, and pretty soon the speakers are squealing. I know you've all heard that sound. It comes when the sound is coming out of the speaker, going into the mic, coming out of the speaker, going into the mic, and it's creating a loop like that. This kind of pickup, the bar magnet pickup, will not feed back as easily. It will feed back, but not as easily. So you can turn it up more. But it also, you'll see, it does not sound like an acoustic Autoharp. It sounds more electric. And we have to shape the sound using the amplifiers, treble and bass controls, and other devices that we have to shape the sound. That's part of what we're going to get into in other videos. So there's that sound. Now I'm going to change autoharps. Isn't that amazing how that just happens? It's been happening in these videos all the time now. So this autoharp, this is a carbon fiber autoharp, that's not going to have as much effect on the sound as you might think with a pickup in it. However, this autoharp has a Piezo pickup installed in it, which works a little bit more like a microphone. And I'm going to go ahead and turn up the volume. This pickup will feed back a lot easier because it's basically a microphone. It doesn't pick up my voice, but it does pick up vibrations directly from the autoharp. And that's one of the things that you got to know about this kind of microphone, this kind of pickup. The Piezo will pick up all the sounds. It'll pick up the thumping of the chord bars. All of that, and as you turn it up, all of that becomes amplified, and it will feed back more easily. Notice that it sounds more sparkly, more natural sounding than the bar magnet pickup. So you might think that this would be a good option for you if you want just to sound like an autoharp but louder. But you need extra equipment besides just your pickup and your amp when you have this kind of setup. Those kinds of, that extra equipment is usually the equivalent of a preamp. Depends on what's built into your amp and whether you're recording or not. I'll get more into that in later videos. But you generally want something that will warm up the signal before it gets into your amplifier. And I happen to have a preamp. It's not the best preamp that you could use, but it is a preamp, and I'm going to show that to you now. This little graphic equalizer pedal is the Behringer EQ700. And for the money, this is the best value. It's only like $25–30, I think. And it is the clone of the Boss GE7 graphic equalizer. And electronically, it may be superior. There's debate about that. I can't hear the difference. I had the Boss pedal, which runs about $100. This is about $25. I can't hear the difference. The difference that I can tell you is that the Boss is metal construction, and this is sort of heavyweight plastic. But if you can deal with that and take a little bit of care of it, you can get a lot of road for your money. And if you read forums comparing the EQ700, the Behringer EQ700, and the Boss GE7, you'll get mixed opinions about which is better, and a lot of people say this is better. So let's just say they're equal, except this one's plastic, okay? But it has not only 7 sliders that control bass to treble, bass, less bass, less bass. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself just in case you don't know. Okay, now I'm boosting the lowest bass notes, the next lowest. the next lowest. These are the middles. Now these are the really high notes. You can sculpt your sound a little bit with these pedals. This is a graphic equalizer. It's just like having more treble and bass controls. But then this slider over here is a preamp, and it boosts the signal, warms it all up before it goes in to the amplifier, whether an acoustic amp, whether an electric amp, with a piezo crystal. And really, with a bar magnet pickup, you kind of need one of these. Now, here's the deal. This one and the Boss don't have the kind of output that takes you into a mixing board for recording. I'm going to plug this in now to my piezo crystal pickup through this into the amp so that you can hear the sound warm up. All right, so first of all, let me show you how I hook it up. It needs power. You can open up the pedal and put, I'm not going to do it, but you can take this little, this is the foot switch. You can open that up and put a little 9-volt battery inside, or you can use a power supply. I prefer the power supply option because it's more environmentally friendly and I don't have to worry about running out of batteries, which happens to me all the time. So I plug the power supply in there, and then I have this little wall wart, which I'm going to plug into this extension cord, which I turned out over here. And then cable. And I've got more cable than I need here, but it's what I brought. So I should have showed you all of that. Power supply. This is coming in from the instrument. Comes out of the instrument, goes in here. Comes out of the pedal. This goes to the amplifier in. All right, so right now it's off, and then it's on. Off, on. And I'm going to set it where I like it. I'm going to turn it off, play for you the unadulterated sound and then the preamped sound so that you can hear the difference. Plugging in the Autoharp, I like to have, this is called a lead. I like to have a lead with a right angle plug on it when I'm plugging into the side of the instrument. Okay, so here's the unpreamped sound that's coming through the amp. Now I'm going to step on the pedal, turn the pedal on, and turn it up a little bit. Hear how that note is really popping out. I can find that little range of sound and turn down that slice with my preamp. Let's see if I can get a picture of this while I'm doing it. So You see, I found that note is right in that frequency range. So if I pull that slider down a little bit, and if that's a little too sparkly, so this is all about sculpting the sound so that it has the most pleasant sounding effect on the ear and the most natural sound. Now, let's try this with the bar magnet pickup. So once again, I'm going to take the lead and I'm going to plug in our bar magnet Autoharp. When you unplug or plug in the lead, always turn down the volume on the amp, or if you have a volume pedal, something to cut the signal going into the speaker, because it's going to go pop really loud and you can blow out your speakers. So the volume is turned down while I'm changing plugs. Then I'm free to turn up the volume again. I'm going to turn off the preamp. It's off. Here's the sound. You hear it just sounds more like an electric guitar. Now I'm going to turn on the preamp. It didn't change the sound as much, did it? But let's boost the signal coming out of the preamp. So I'm going to turn up the volume on the preamp. You want to see it? Okay. Okay, it's this slider here is the main volume slider in the preamp. So I'm going to boost that up about there. A lot louder, huh? See, I have to yell for you to hear me now. And I want more bass. Sounds a little bit like I'm overdriving it a little bit, which is a blues effect. So there you have it. There's a very basic sound comparison between an electric pickup and a piezo pickup, which is more of an acoustic electric sound. And you be the judge of how it's working for you. Be aware that there's more feedback issues with a piezo crystal. And when you get a pickup in your Autoharp, if you order an Autoharp with a pickup in it, it's always going to be the bar magnet, because it's the least hassle to, people can figure it out more easily. When we put that in the hands of average Joe, they are able to plug it in, use it without a preamp, and get good sound out of it by adjusting the controls, and that works and makes the Autoharp louder without feedback, less problems, less issues with people sending them back going, my pickup doesn't work for me, I need something else. So there's more hassle involved with the piezo crystal. But you might prefer that sound, and I think a lot of acoustic guitar players use that, but they also have a way of dealing with feedback. They'll block the sound hole and do other things. So a lot of our work will be done in this video series with a bar magnet pickup, but could be done with a piezo crystal too. The bar magnet pickup can be shaped using an equalizer and a preamp to get closer to the acoustic sound. Not only that, but if you want that acoustic sound, use a microphone. Sit in front of a microphone and put the microphone in front of your Autoharp, and then you can use the pickup that's in the Autoharp, the bar magnet pickup, for the bass. Just like I showed you in the video that I did a couple of episodes ago, where I blended the acoustic sound with the bass sound of the amp. So that involves a microphone in the front and the bar magnet pickup, and using the bar magnet pickup to boost the bass and give it more rumble down there in those bass notes. So you can temper the sound, like I just did there, of the bar magnet pickup so that it sounds a little bit closer to an acoustic. Furthermore, remember that I'm playing through an electric amplifier, an electric guitar amplifier. If we use the acoustic amplifier, we might get a more natural sound out of this bar magnet pickup. Let's give that a shot. Okay, I've hooked up the Luna Guitars acoustic amplifier to see if we can get, let's just compare the tone of our electric guitar amp to our acoustic guitar amp. So this is an acoustic amplifier. In this case, it's a Luna. Acoustic amplifiers, you can't see this, but inside there's one speaker that is large, and then it's got a little tweeter. The little tweeter is for the high sparkly notes, designed for an acoustic sound out of a natural pickup, piezo crystal or magnet pickup, in an acoustic guitar. Usually there's also a voice channel, and you can tell those because it has an XLR input. That's what this is, for a microphone, so that a singer, like a singer-songwriter or a guitarist who sings, can play through one amp and sing through the amp and be heard all in one unit. This is our trusty Autoharp with a bar magnet pickup in it. Right now, my preamp is turned off. Now, what you're hearing is about 50% just the natural sound coming off the strings, coming out of the sound hole, and going over to the microphone on my phone. So I'm going to turn this up. I'm going to turn this up a little more. I think you'll agree it sounds a little bit more like an Autoharp, even though I'm using the bar magnet pickup. That's just how acoustic amps are. They're designed to sound acoustic. So, if you're just looking to be heard, you want your Autoharp to sound like an Autoharp, that might be an excellent choice for you. Let's try it with the preamp now. I'm going to turn this on. Did you hear the bass get really big? Now let's see if we can get that a little bit more balanced. I'm going to turn down the bass sliders. Just a little bit. That's kind of nice. I'm liking that. So as you can see, your speaker choice of amp can make a huge difference in your overall tone. Now I'm going to turn this volume down because I'm getting ready to unplug the lead. And we're going to plug in the piezo crystal. I'm going to turn off the preamp. I'm trying to be scientific about this. I'm going to turn up the volume on the Luna guitar amp. This pickup just doesn't have as much volume, so we got to turn the amp up higher to get to the same place. That vibrating sound is coming from my glasses, which are sitting on the amp. So we'll take those off. And there's some treble and bass and mid-range controls on the amp, which are the equivalent of what's in the preamp pedal. Preamp pedal's not even on yet. Notice that you can hear all the miscellaneous sounds. That's one of the things about a piezo crystal, as I mentioned. But now I'm going to turn on the preamp. Before I do that, I'm going to turn the volume down. Which allows me to have the volume down a little bit. It's a lot of sound to be dealing with either way. And that's something that we need to talk about extensively as we get into effects. That is that when you plug in the guitar, or when you plug in the Autoharp into an amp, you can't play the way you used to play. You have to play different because you're dealing with a wall of sound. And if you play the way that you used to play, you're going to create too much sound, especially once we start getting into effects and volume boosts and all of these things that add to your sound. When you augment your sound, you need to back off so that you're not overwhelming and play less notes. And that takes practice, and it takes practice playing in the ensemble that you're playing with so that you can find that sweet spot of how to play your harp with the effects so that they don't overwhelm. So there you have it. That's a comparison of the piezo crystal with the bar magnet crystal pickup and the acoustic amp and the electric guitar amp. So we're going to I'll have more for you in a couple of weeks when we start looking at other aspects of amplifying your sound. So thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm Hal Weeks, and we'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.